Joining us now, she's the head coach at Villanova, her alma mater, fresh off another conference championship in the Big East, as well as another trip to the NCAA tournament. I believe this is her fifth season. No, is that right? Fifth season now at Nova,
Yes.
26 at overall in your coaching career. I speak of course, our good friend Bridget Orchard, who joins us. Is that right? Did I just say that right? Am I accurate
Yeah,
on that?
I
Wow.
think so. It doesn't sound right to me either. I feel like it's like my fifth overall, but yeah, it is. But the COVID year kind of, catches just a little bit. So
No,
it went by fast, but it is five. Yep.
I was going to ask you, how does it feel like it's gone? I feel like it
No.
was only yesterday we just spoke after you just arrived there.
Oh, absolutely. That's how it's flying by, which I guess is a good thing. It's
It
going by
means
really fast.
it helps when you have a lot of success, right? That's the key. It
Absolutely.
goes
Yeah, it's been
faster.
fun. It's been super fun.
Let's talk about a little bit about, I guess, this now as you enter your fifth season. What has it been like for you now? Has it been what you thought it would be? Has it surpassed your expectations when you decided to come to Villanova and come back to your alma mater? Because, as you know, and we talked about this in the past, when you're coaching at your alma mater, sometimes you put a little extra pressure on yourself to do well because it's your alma mater and stuff. Obviously, you've delivered, because I know one of the goals was, hey, let's get the program to the NCAA tournament, which you have done that since. But, I mean, has it been what you thought it would be, or has it even surpassed what you thought it would be when you got to Villanova?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's surpassed it. It's been everything, everything that I wanted it to be, and then more, I think. Honestly, I think it was easier coming back to a place that I've been before, even though, I hadn't been here in probably over 20 years. I obviously graduated here in 97, came back in 19, but so many people here are the same. It's the same Villanova community, always is. It's a huge family, bringing my family here. Obviously, my husband graduated, but a lot of the same people that I'm working with are still here. Our field hockey coach was the coach when I was a player here. So it's just so nice to come back and comforting and just dive back. And I think any place to start would be Villanova, just because, again, the people are just awesome.
Let's when you look back at last season, you were the defending conference champions going in, and then teams obviously were gearing up for you. You had a bit of a slow start to the season, and then you come off and win the Big East tournament, beat a really good UConn team that had won the regular season. When you reflect on last year and that run in the Big East, what comes to your mind in the season? Because you had some adversity during the season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that was the biggest thing. I mean, I always speak about experience. I just don't think there's any replacement for experience. Just over my coaching years, I think experience is a huge thing. And so I think going in last year, we thought, we have the experience. We basically returned everybody on paper. We should have been rolling right at the beginning. And nope, nope, nothing goes as planned. We really didn't. We struggled at the beginning. We had our fifth years. We really didn't really think we'd miss too much, and we did, and they struggled, and we get back into it. Angela had, an injury, so she was out for 4 weeks. So we had some freshmen play in there, and we hit some bumps in the road here and there, but I think that actually made us better. And I think that's how we ended up winning the tournament at the end of the day, because I think that they got there and they got over that. I think the adversity is what helped us in the long run, if that makes any sense. I think we started working harder once we started losing some games early. I think we came in thinking like, hey, we won, we're going to win again, and it's going to be easy, and I'm definitely, myself included, I think we're a little overconfident coming in. I'm thinking, hey, I don't even have to coach this year. We got everybody back. We're going to roll. Yeah, no, it didn't work out that way. I think they thought the same thing, and it definitely was a challenge for us to kind of get the momentum back going again. We always say, it doesn't matter what you did last year, it's you can do this year. And you guys haven't won anything yet. Last year's team won, so I think that was a lesson learned last year, and I think this year's team is going to help us, because they know. Although, like you mentioned, we won the conference tournament, but we didn't have a great season. I mean, people like, I love getting the congratulations, but I really don't think the season went the way we wanted it to go from start to finish. We ended on a great note, and it was awesome, and we were champions, and that's what our goal was. But I think, early on in the season, we wanted to be much better. We wanted to make sure we had a shot for maybe an at-large, or we thought last year we could have won some of those games. We went down and played in Carolinas, thinking we're going to pick up a couple of big RPI wins, and we struggled. I mean, we didn't get many wins at all, let alone RPI wins. So I think going in this year, the girls get that right from the get-go. I think we're working harder in the off season. Obviously, we lost a bunch, so I think the new kids are naturally just going to work hard to earn their spots. But I think as a coach, we kind of learned that you can't just sit back. You got to get after every day.
Is that something though last year that you had to have to go through? Because in a way, it's a compliment of your program. Maybe a couple years ago, teams are overlooking you when you're playing in a tournament, but last year, teams circled you. They knew who you are. They know who Paige Rauch was. They saw you in the NCAA tournament. So as a result, you're playing in these schedules. Teams are ready for you. They're not just like, oh well, maybe we'll throw a number two. They were going at their best at you.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a learning experience for you, for the program, from that standpoint? Because the expectations are higher now at Villanova than maybe they've ever been with the success you've had.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things we talked about. It was nice, you're being the huntee and now you're the hunted. And so definitely, I think, we were being picked to win it. I think, I don't know if it was 2 years in a row or we were picked to win the regular season. It might've been 2 years in a row. I think my first season we were picked third and I was like, whoa, I don't even think we're going to, make the tournament. But, and then we were picked first and first. So definitely the expectation we came in all of a sudden, it's like, again, you're the defending champs and they went from never winning to being defending champions. So I think that that's something that they had to go through. We talked about our fifth year senior with Angela Giampaolo, who was here again longer than I was. So it was her fifth year last year. So she's gone through so many different seasons, ups, downs, really experienced everything, which is really cool. But I think it was a different mindset for her, mentally going in, being like, hey, like you just said, people are looking forward to playing us, where before they were like, hey, this is going to be an automatic win for us, or, they're not going to circle us, or we might see a 2 or 3. And we definitely were seeing people's number ones. They were coming hard at us. We were a good win, I think, for people. So that was new for our girls, just from a mindset, being like, hey, like they're going to bring their best game. And also I think the celebrating and stuff, like after they beat us and just getting really excited. Before, I don't think people really got too excited if they beat us. And now it was like, I think it was a big thing. And I think that was, one of the things when we played the regular season, like at UConn, they won. I think the best thing for us was them celebrating and having a, huge thing on the field. And I learned that early in my career when I was at Fordham, that you can't do that. But I think that was great for us. I love seeing it. It was there. Our girls, got to see it, and they beat us 2 out of 3, and they beat us, handled us pretty well. But I think that was a great motivator going into the following weekend, saying, hey, you know what? They celebrated last week, let's work hard, let's get back. So I think there's nothing that can make up for that kind of motivation. Going, all right, well, this is what we're going to beat them when it matters. And we did.
And finding a way, you overcame all that. I mean, in a way, maybe going through that adversity, if you don't go through that, maybe you don't win the conference tournament. Is that the other angle, right?
I absolutely believe that. I mean, like Paige was on fire. I mean, the weekend before didn't have her best stuff. She comes back, she didn't run the entire tournament. I was like, I think this is the best I've seen her pitch. And it was like, she came on that tournament. Our game versus DePaul was insane. Like their pitcher was lights out. Our pitcher was it was hot. I didn't think it was going to end. I mean, extra innings, we ended up winning like 1-0, on a mistake. And it was crazy. I think, Paige was just exhausted. She was in tears. I think their pitcher was in tears. It was like, we were just so, you're happy, you're sad, you're just happy to be over. But I think that was like one of the best games I've been part of. I mean, obviously fortunate we were able to come up on top of that, but I think that game was the turning point of going, all right, like she's really got it. When she gets in that zone and she locks in, she's really, really tough to beat. And you got to, rewind, I guess, probably 3 weeks earlier. I don't know when we played them this season, and they knocked her out of both games. I mean, it was like home run, like 10 runs, 8 runs. Like we went out there and played and didn't have a great performance. So I think just, again, so much to learn about Paige, but her being able to come back facing these same hitters, and she looked like a totally different pitcher.
Well, it shows how great competitor and player she is. I mean, rising to the occasion there. So you win the Big East tournament, and then you find out you're going to Orlando for the Orlando Regional, which I feel partly guilty because I had you on Selection Sunday before the selection. So you had just won the Big East. So I wanted to have you on our live because we did a preview show to lead up to Selection Sunday, and you had just won the tournament. So I wanted to celebrate that and talk to you. And then behold, you end up coming in my backyard. So I don't know if the committee was playing a joke on us on that or not. They clearly were watching the show, which I appreciate that. But what was your reaction as you get to Orlando? And you get a 4 seed, because I remember we were discussing, could you be a 3 or 4? Because I felt the Big East Conference has elevated itself to where maybe you should have been a 3 seed, whoever the conference champion was. Because certainly Connecticut was, with their RPI, they were kind of be projected to be a 3 seed had they won the tournament. And heck, they were probably, should have maybe gotten some conversation as an at-large. So I thought maybe you get the benefit of a doubt as a 3 seed. Instead, they gave the benefit of doubt to another school in the Tuscaloosa regional. But nonetheless, take me through that when you find out you're watching the show, and then you're like, oh, you're because you were one of the last teams announced. It was the last regional.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we thought of you as well. And we you kind of see it going through, been through enough of these, you're watching them, you're still nervous. Like you haven't at large, but you're still like, we haven't caught up yet. Did they forget about us? Like, you're still like nervous. Like, we're going in there. I mean, we didn't get in that large. It was automatic. So we're like, we're in, but like, you still get really nervous because your name is not popping up and it's not popping up and you're waiting and waiting, kind of sweating it out and seeing where you're going to go. And then we saw that. And I think we were just super excited, again, once to be in there, you can never take that for granted. Just a chance to hear your name called was really exciting for the girls. And then the fact that it was a flight that was short, it was same time zone, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we're able to have a lot of fans come down. So I think that was exciting. The year before we went to Arizona, which was awesome. And it was a great experience. The first time going for the girls on our team. So I think that was a cool atmosphere again, but it's far, not many family. Actually, a lot of family probably went out there, but it was a tough trip for all them to get out there. Whereas Florida, you're like, oh, Orlando, we can take a flight. My whole family went down. It's pretty easy to get there. And again, these flights, you're booking them 2 days in advance. So I think that was one of the things, knowing, okay, we're going to go down there. And then Michigan was there, which was pretty cool. Obviously we didn't know, Coach Hutch was going to have her last year, but now looking back, wow, that was pretty cool. We got to be on the same field with her and kind of talk to her and her staff and see her team play. And then obviously UCF, the year that they were having, and just amazing, just opportunity that they're going to get a chance to host, and we were going to be a part of that, I think was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out it's a very historic regional for the sport. For UCF, for the reasons you brought up, they were hosting for the first time. They would go on to win the first regional ever there. But you mentioned that would turn out to be Coach Hutch's last regional, which, I wondered a little bit after the regional. She got emotional in the region, but then, months passed by. You're like, all right, whatever. But then she announced out of nowhere in late August, yeah, I'm retiring. What was your reaction when you heard that news that Coach Hutch was retiring?
I was shocked, like you said. I thought she was going to coach forever. I didn't think she was ever going to. And she was as fired up as ever. At the regional. And one thing you can say about her is she's just such an ambassador for the sport and for Title IX, and just a mentor, and watching what she does. I mean, even our games on there was a rain out, and we ended up having to play, like, it was probably 10 p.m., 11 p.m. And her team wasn't in it, but she still came to the field and talked to us, and like called the ESPN and called the NCAA. And she was an advocate for us and her team. I mean, she could have been back sleeping. And she was like, no, this is about the sport. Like, she just puts the sport, everything ahead of herself and ahead of her own program. Their team was back. I think they actually might have been on the bus, or they weren't playing, but she wanted to make sure that as coaches, myself and the opposing coach, like, that we knew what we should be doing. And she wanted those girls off that field. And it was just pretty cool to kind of watch her go. I think she was tweeting out. I mean, yes. she was funny. But again, it just shows me that it's like, wow, here's this woman who's been around forever, and she's just advocating for the sport and what's right for girls, what's right for female athletes, what they should be doing, what was right for our sport and for that regional. And I think for me, it's just cool to kind of watch her work and kind of see her passion. And it was just genuine passion for the game of softball. So yeah, I was surprised to see her, retire, just because I think she could keep going and going and going. She obviously loves it so much, and she loves the girls, she loves the sports, and she loves female sports.
No, you're right about that. You mentioned, weather was a factor in that regional, and partly because it was all vague about what would happen as far as the rescheduling. UCF and Michigan, of course, had to play a marathon 11-inning game, which pushed your game against South Dakota State back to the night, and everybody knew about the forecast being bad, and unfortunately, it's Florida in the summertime. And there was questions whether a team would have to play 3 games on Sunday, and Coach Hutch was vocal about it. And I remember, because people were asking me about it, like I had all the answers. And I'm like, I know this. I know Coach Hutch ain't going to allow anybody to play 3 games if she has her way. And you're like, no, but that's what they said. I'm like, I'm just telling you, ain't going to happen. And they tweaked the schedule. And since then, this offseason, they've actually even kind of cleared it up now, where that will never happen, where a team will play 3 games. So, again, it's one of the many things about that regional that I think it turns out to be pretty historic for all the respective programs and the sport in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. And again, it's just postseason at its best. You're expecting anything, you're still playing. So the fact that you're one of the few teams that are still playing is just cool in itself. Obviously, you can't change the weather. You can't help the weather. I mean, it went from freakishly hot to freakishly cold to wet to the nighttime to morning time. So, I mean, like, we kind of experienced everything in that regional. I think, we went 0-2 and we played, I think, from Thursday to Sunday. So I was like, well, we made it to Sunday. Not really the way we wanted to, but like, technically, like, the goal is, hey, let's play on Sunday. And we were playing on Sunday. It just really wasn't the way we planned it.
Yeah, I remember that. And so you and I were smart, because I remember we were supposed to do a press conference, but they kind of asked us, hey, do you still want to do the press? And we made eye contact. We're like, we talk enough. It's fine.
Well, it was like I guess it was lightning or hurricane. Yeah, it was like a hurricane, lightning, warm. And one thing I like about it is it's great for our girls, for the experience, especially for the mid-major girls, for them to have that interview, to get up there in the tent with the NCAA, have your name tag, like all the stuff that kind of seems insignificant. It's kind of cool for these people my players that hadn't been up up there. So we were pushing to do it. And then they're like, a hurricane's coming. I'm like, you know what? Look at the experience, hopefully next year.
It was more like a tornado, which is, it was not a hurricane. Trust me, we just went through a hurricane a couple of weeks ago. You don't want to go through that. Tornado, it was more of a tornado, severe thunderstorm. I remember that. But it was funny because Hutch was tweeting about that. There's a tornado coming. I'm like, well, hold on. It's not it's not coming to the stadium. It's just within, certain miles. But it was kind of entertaining to explain all that.
Memorable one, it's a good one for the memory book. So that's
right.
Good.
But as a result, you mentioned, because of course, then you play South Dakota State after you played UCF. You play early in that evening, then you finish in the morning. Of course, it's a classic back and forth game between the two teams with a coach that it turns out is you're going to become even more familiar with. But what do you reflect about that regional that you want your returners in particular to take from that experience?
I think they knew. Gassed. I mean, we were gassed. We ran out of gas. We had, I think, again, our conference being so tough. I think that's one of the toughest thing about being the mid-majors. You're going to be a one-bid league and you're giving it your all. The only way you're going is if you win that conference tournament. I'm sure, other conferences are working hard to win that tournament. For us, it's all or nothing for all of our teams. I mean, it's do or die out there. So I think our conference tournament, like I just explained, Paige being out there, that DePaul game, the UConn games, the Butler games, they were all war and battles for us. They were hard. It took a lot out of us, but mentally and physically. And we got to that UCF regional and obviously playing late at night, finishing it early in the morning and re-warming up. I think we warmed up 3 different times and it was a mess, but our bodies couldn't handle it. So I think one of the things that we're looking at now is, we talked with our strength coach, with our trainers, is we need to condition a little bit better. We need to work harder and we need to know that we need to be there at the end of the season. We need to be in better shape. Because not that it would have, I don't know if we would have been any different, but in fact, our catcher, Allie's, she's back for a senior this year. And I mean, she couldn't, I think she was again, couldn't even stand up. She was so tired and it was hard on them. So I think that we told them this year, you're going to have to train harder then, we're going to plan to play through the end of May into June, if we're lucky enough. So, I mean, they just got to get their bodies in better shape. And again, mentally, physically being ready. Last year, we told them at the beginning of the season, our girls hadn't experienced a full season of travel. They didn't know what a full, we go on the first 5 weekends, we're on the road, you're playing 5 games. We're usually challenging ourselves. So we're not getting a ton of wins. So you're really taking a beating, some games you're just not even in it. And then we're traveling every weekend. Conference comes. Got classes, school, they don't realize how hard the spring is. Obviously as coaches, we do, our returners do, but last year we had about 4 kids that have ever experienced a full season. Because even our seniors, they had half a year, they had a COVID year, they had just no travel year. And this was the first time we're guys, it's going to be hard. You're going to have to play a lot. And again, you mentioned the adversity. I think the ups and downs we had last year was just tremendous. I mean, to be able to come out on top was crazy if you think about all the things that we went through. And I'm sure every team goes through them. But for me personally, I felt like last year was just the girls just battling and just, wearing it out. And I think that I was really proud of them for being able to get through that.
Now, obviously, get into this season, and I'm going to be the first of a million people that will be asking you this question from now till February, and that's, of course, Paige Rauch, replacing her. First of all, before we talk about the current team and how, who steps into that role, that pitching staff role, let's kind of discuss her legacy at Villanova, because she came with you, kind of shared your vision for what you wanted to bring in Villanova, helped make that happen. What's her legacy at Villanova? And then for the fans, what's she up to now?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. We joke about, like you said, a lot of people ask about it, and I'm used to doing these and talking about how she's going to play this season, I'm like, this is our first one. I'm like, whoa, you know what? She's not playing this season. And again, she's old. I think she's ready. She was ready to be done. She did come with me from Fordham. So I remember her freshman year, I had her at Fordham, and then I took the job. She came with me for the next 3 years. And in my opinion, I think she built Villanova up. She was what we needed, that piece we needed to come in and kind of kickstart our start to get going. Now these girls that are coming in behind her, we're just hoping to uphold, kind of like we said, her legacy of being here. I mean, she broke the home run record, she broke hitting records, she broke pitching records, win records, and she was doing this within, her first season. I think she broke the home run record in her first season right out of the get-go. And it might have been a career record in one season or maybe 2 seasons, but it was something pretty significant. And then obviously pitching wise, she was helping there. She played first, short, second, outfield. I mean, she made some tremendous plays in the outfield in the Arizona regional, and a kid that could just play anywhere. But like you said, she did it all, but she also had that mentality that she was going to win and she was going to fight and she was going to battle, which was huge the underclassmen, the rest of our program, coming in and saying like, hey, we're about winning, we're about winning and we're about doing what it takes to win. And she's one of the people that we can specifically point to that. And I talk about her all the time, like coming early, staying late, working on her off day. Like right now we're in 8 hours a week. Like that's when we can be with you. But if you're only doing the 8 hours, like you're not going to be that good. And she was the epitome of that, of like, that's what she does. So she's back home now, her hometown up in Binghamton, New York, which is where we're both from. We went to the same high school together, but she's back there. She bought a house. She's, living in the real world, living the dream. We just saw her, I guess we went up there to play at the beginning of September. So she was up there picking up, I have some more hardware. I keep getting all of her hardware that she won last year, keep delivering her stuff. She'll be back for our ring ceremony in January. But I think she's appreciating some time off. She actually coaches some softball, some youth kids in softball. She's working a desk job and coaching. I think eventually she'll probably get into doing that. Coaching, I think she'd be a great one. But I think right now she's resting her body and her mind and kind of just relaxing, enjoying life.
Is she the greatest player in program history? I mean, I know you're a little biased, but you know the history of this program as well as anybody. She has to be. I mean, with everything she's accomplished and really taking the program to a different level.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I'm a little biased, I think, obviously, because I coached her, and I played here too.
Right.
But for sure. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that she can do both. So we've had some All-Americans here, in the early 2000s. Sarah Carlson was an All-American. She hit, but Paige was able to hit, to pitch, to win games. I mean, to take you to a Big East championship and not give up a run in 3 games in a row is unbelievable in my opinion, and being the first one, she did a lot of first, just all the records that she broke, and her mentality and coming in and really giving us what we need to do to kind of get this program on the map. And hopefully, this year, like we're going to talk about in a minute here, is just hopefully we can continue that, without her presence.
So obviously you don't replace a player like that. That's a generational type player, but us media people don't know how to phrase questions better than, hey, who replaces, you don't replace her. But let's start with the pitching staff, obviously, because she was your ace there. Who steps in? Who are some of the players that, this is an opportunity for them? That's the thing. The beauty of college sports is one player moves on. That means it's an opportunity for others. So tell me about this pitching staff this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited about it. Like you said, I mean, you're not going to replace Paige Rauch, but what we have coming back, and like you just mentioned, we talk about an all fall opportunity. This is going to be an opportunity. Freshmen last year didn't have a big opportunity because we returned our middle infielders. They were 5th years. We returned Paige. So this year, we have 7 freshmen. So we're like, hey, you guys are going to get out there, get a chance to play. So this fall, we played 22 different people in like every single game. And I'm usually my fall games, I'll stick with our 9 or 10. I say this is our lineup, but we didn't have a lineup. So we're pretty much, they're really getting thrown into the fire, which I think is great for them. It's great experience, great opportunity. But for pitching, obviously, I think Kelsey White coming back, she got that postseason experience too. So she ended up being, in that Big East championship game, she had the hits. So again, I think I like my hitting pitchers, but she wasn't pitching, she was playing right field, but she was able to get I think she had a single with an RBI and they scored 3 runs and ended up being the winning runs. But she made the all tournament team at the Big East championship as a freshman, which I think was huge. And she pitched, she played outfield, she hit for us. I mean, we're going to need a lot out of her, again, similar to what Paige did as far as Kelsey's planning on playing the outfield. She's planning on hitting. She's planning on pitching, so I think she'll be a big one coming back. We got a transfer from Boston College, Paige Schnackenberg. She'll be a big one too. And again, I always talk about experience, and that's the big thing Peyton right now is bring to our team, bringing leadership. She's been there. She played in the ACC, so she's played against some really tough opponents. So her composures, we're looking for that. We're looking for her experience, winning, her mentality, just working hard, getting after it. She's already been a leader for, the freshmen and just kind of playing a bigger schedule. She understands the travel. I'm big on like understanding like the commitment it's going to take, the travel, the wear on your body, being able to balance, academic, social, athletics. So I think she's been there, done that. So I think that's going to be a big one for us. Carolyn Pelicano, who got postseason experience as well last year. She's a junior this year. So she'll look into kind of stepping up a bigger role for us as well, being able to pitch more. We have 2 freshmen, Kat Galat, who, started some games this fall and had a great fall. Maddie Burrows as well, who's another 2-way play. Maddie Burrows plays shortstop. She'll hit, she'll pitch. Again, it's kind of a trend for me. I like to get these athletic pitchers that can do more. So they're doing that. Alyssa Seidler's coming off an injury. She's a junior this year, but she has a lot of great stuff. If she can get healthy, she had arm surgery her sophomore year. She was affected by COVID her freshman year. But again, she's been throwing, she's been getting back after it. So if she can get everything moving the way that, she wants to work and stay healthy, we'll have a lot of options. So we have options. Now it's just a matter of, and I think we're going to be pitching, by committee. We're going to have people starting that might finish, and people are finishing might start, but really helping each other out and kind of pitching as a full staff this year, as opposed to having like, hey, Paige, you have the ball and you're going to, throw 7 innings for us. We lost Sarah Kennedy as well, was I think a big loss for us as well, just because she was able to kind of go in there and be steady, had composure, be able to throw full 7. So this year, I think we're going to be mixing it up and, 4-3, 5-2. I mean, where they're all training to start and throw 7 innings. But I think the hitters are so good this year in our conference. We're going to have to mix it up a little bit.
You mentioned White and the experience you got in the Big East tournament. I mean, I saw her. You brought her in relief in the UCF game, in that regional, because you pulled Paige early, and she kept you in that game. She was really solid. Can that experience that she had, not just in the Big East tournament, but the NCAA tournament, do you sense in seeing her a difference there? Because I gotta believe that has to give her some confidence and for that experience, going through that experience.
Oh, absolutely. Like I think my biggest thing is, like I said, just being there, been there, done that, the experience. I just think the mental game is so big. Obviously, you need to have the talent, but once you have that talent, I think it only takes you so far. I think mentally, you need to be confident and be poised. You need to understand that you can win, that you've been there, done that. So I think that that's going to be a huge thing, having that experience in the Big East. Being able to play behind somebody like Paige and Sarah, and coming in and being able to continue on, I think is huge.
Offensively, you got to replace her bat, among others. You got to replace offensively. What's the outlook here? How is it looking from the offensive standpoint?
Progress. A work in progress. So right now, I mean, we lost our 1, 2, 3. But we have a lot of great options. Like I said, opportunities, it's going to be people stepping up, the Chloe Smiths. I mean, she's going to come in, and she was a team leader this fall, really just hit the ball well and came up with some power numbers, some home runs, doubles. She's just super steady. Tess Seitz is going to have to step it up. These are, juniors and seniors that you saw, they played last year and the year before, but now it's like, hey, you're going to pop into being, top 1, 2, 3 hitters in our lineup. So it's really going to be, hopefully we can pull from some of our freshmen. We have Lily St. Jean that, came in as a freshman that hit well in this fall, and they're going to be asked to do things that, last year our freshmen didn't have the luxury of doing. I think they would have liked to have played. Ava Franz back this year as a sophomore, spot played a little bit last year when Angela went down. So she did get some experience, get some at bats, but I think this year she's definitely feeling a little more comfortable, a little more confident, and they know that the bats we have to replace, Megan Kern, Angela Giampaolo, Paige Rauch, those are 1, 2, 3 that we always kind of relied on. I think you'll see more, just definitely versatility from us. We'll probably even doing some short game, which I do not do. I never do. But you know what? Hey, I'm going to pull every trick out of our bag this year and see if we can score some runs, because I think we're going to need it.
Who are some new faces that could contribute offensively? And do you have leaders as staff? Because you lose some leadership there. I mean, those names you bring up brought leadership. Has that been established yet, or is that still evolving?
It had. I think our seniors are stepping up, so we have some grad students came back. So we have the 5th year. So we have Cindy Hayes, who's our starting center fielder, Ryan Henry. They're both back for their grad year. So they're obviously 5th years, been there, done that. They were here in, 19 when we lost. So they were here when we won. So they're definitely going to bring that. And they've kind of been sitting back and kind of waiting for their turn to step up at the right time. I think this is time for them. But Chloe Smith, I mentioned earlier, Allie Jones, there are seniors, Victoria Sebastian, Danny Dabrowski. So we have a good, those are true seniors. So we have 4 seniors that I think can handle it. Tori won the Golden Glove at first base last year. So I think that was a national award that gave her a lot of confidence. She's a left-handed batter that starts swinging the bat. She swung really well coming in out of high school, kind of struggled the past few years. So if she can get her bat back in, I think she knows that that's going to help us, win us some games. Her defense, and she knows this, we talk about it a lot, on the field is why she plays, because she has that leadership at first base. She kind of controls our infield. Even last year, she was able to handle Paige a little bit, and Paige kind of get a little crazy eyes out there. She was the one that was able to kind of rein everybody in. Allie Jones, obviously being the catcher, she's a huge leader for us, controlling that infield, get everybody on the same page, especially working with a lot of freshmen. We have 2 sophomores battling out for second base right now. We have a couple of freshmen at shortstop. So it's going to be young up the middle. Same thing with our outfielders. We have 6 different outfielders that are battling for, that all the positions out there. So it is going to be different who's playing behind them. So you're going to have like the communication issues we worked on the fall, not just having a shortstop with a new left fielder behind her, or different left fielder every inning they're out there in the game. Same thing with second baseman, knowing who your right fielders are. knowing the strength of their arms, who you have to go out for a cut, who you can stay back a little bit, who you need to cut on. So I think that's the stuff that we're working on that we didn't have to work in the past. We knew, who had the strongest arm, who had a little bit of weaker arm. Now we're having to learn that. I mean, as coaching staff, but also within each other. And I think we have them out in the field. We want them kind of learning that for themselves and knowing what they can do, what they can't do, and even range at shortstop. We have two, Lily St. Jean and Maddie Burrows. I mean, their gloves are ridiculous. I mean, they can cover everything. They're getting 5-6 hole, they're getting balls up the middle. So they're getting balls that we didn't get last year. Megan had a way stronger arm. It has a bigger presence, bigger bat, but I think our shortstop this year can cover a little more ground. So we'll see what we can take from that.
Sounds to me you like the talent potential is higher than ever before,
Oh, yeah.
but the experience is not there, obviously, with freshmen, which, as a coach, you have to be patient with, right? You have to kind of remember that they are freshmen. There's going to be some mistakes. How do you deal with that patience? There's that talent, that potential, but you're also going to have to be patient and let them grow because you can only practice so much. They're going to have to kind of learn on the field.
Oh, that's exactly what they're going to do. I think they're excited about it. I think that's one of the reasons they wanted to come here. I think they're excited about, if you ask them or you ask, our freshmen last year, they'd rather play it or watch. They want to play, so although they're going to make mistakes, so we're going to be patient. Like, we're going to have to allow them to make these mistakes, as you mentioned, which as a coach, that's going to take a lot of, patience on my end of, hey, getting out there. But again, they're coming in so talented. Like I said, they have the talent. It's just a matter, I think, of getting comfortable, getting that experience. We start off, and they know too, we start off right out of the gate. We're going to play, we're going out to Auburn, we're going to Stanford, we're going to play some tough teams. And as a freshman shortstop, and balls might be, getting hit at you a little bit harder than you ever had hit at you before. We played some tough games this fall where they took some shots at them. So I think that they're resilient. I think they're both, really good on defense, and they're ready to kind of get after it.
You mentioned how you like, the versatile players. They could pitch, could hit, just versatility, playing multiple positions. Is that something you look at when you're recruiting? Is that something you observe as you go through practices? Just tell me that process, and how do you balance out to make sure that, hey, we're not giving this player too much on their plate, that, they just give them enough what they can handle?
Yeah, I mean, that's the fine line between that. Yeah, like a Maddie Burrows who pitches, hits, plays shortstop, and like you just said, like, are we overwhelming her? And that's something that we're trying to figure out right now. Because not everybody can. When you do you have 8 hours. You're allowed to do 4 hours, and you're like, when's this kid going to do everything? So she's kind of working with them, the ones that do that. The Kelsey Whites, the Maddie Burrows that have to hit, pitch. You're limited what you can do, so it's on them a lot to do it on their own. They'll have coaching instruction for 4 hours, and the rest of it, they're kind of going to have to figure that out on their own. They usually want to do the work, and they're willing to do that, but definitely something we recruit. We want kids that love softball. So I always talk about with our recruits coming, that really want to play. Like, we're not hounding them down to go get extra. They want to go play. They want to get at the field early, want to stay late. And the only kids that are going to do the ones that really like to play. Like, if they don't like softball or love softball, they're not going to get in there early, not going to get in there late. They're not going to enjoy that. So I feel like our team now, we really have kind of these, I guess they're gym rats. They really like getting after. We have a new indoor facility, new hitting cages, so they can go swipe in, swipe out, hit whenever they want to. We're not there. They turn music on, do it on their own, and they definitely take advantage of that. And I think that that's something in recruiting we try to find. And again, we don't always get it right, but you want to get the kids that they want to do it all the time, on their own. They want to work, want to perfect their game. They want to win. They want to get in there. So we're looking at that. And then, like I said, athletes, I think, especially in mid-major, we're looking for versatility. We might not get the polished kid that's the strongest, biggest kid, because again, Power 5 is going to come in and sweep that kid up that's there, that has all the tools. We're probably going to get them maybe because they pitch, hit, and play the field. We're going to get them because, Power 5 wants you just to come in and pitch, or they want you just to come in and hit. Right. We're like, hey, come to us. We'll let you do all three. In fact, we want you to do all three. So, and they get to play all the time. I think that was one of the big things for Paige, for Kelsey White. It's like, hey, they're going to play almost every inning of every game. And nowadays with pitchers, you might only pitch, one day and then not the next day. So now you're still playing in all 56 games. Again, easier said than done. You gotta stay healthy. You gotta be strong. You gotta work out. You gotta be in great shape to play that many innings. But I think that that's one of our big, recruiting pitches, I would say, is like, hey, we're going to come in and you're going to get an opportunity right away to do a lot of different things.
Do you still feel there's a lot of players that want to do that, play multiple? Because I wonder now, there is or is it, do you see more now being specified? Hey, I'm just going to be a pitcher. I got my pitching coach, etc. Where, do you still feel that there's more, a ton of players playing the multi-position, or do you think it's dropped off into your years since you've been recruiting?
Well, I think the biggest thing is there's so many more people playing. There's so many, and I don't know if there's more. It's just there's so many teams. Like I don't know recruiting if I'm bad at it, but like I'm going to look at these schedules and I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's like 9,000 teams and 9,000 different tournaments, and we have 3 coaches and trying to go see everybody play. And it's just so hard because there's so many teams, and which is great for the sport. But you're trying to recruit, you're like, oh my gosh, like there's people that obviously we don't even know about, never even heard of, which is good and bad because also some kids that nobody ever heard about, even in, the big Power 5 may not have heard of this kid because they're playing on some team that's, again, 1,000 miles away. So I think that there's more bodies. So there's a little bit of both. I mean, I definitely don't think it's been a problem. We've been recruiting a lot of kids in the, the 24 class, looking at the 25, 26s that are multi, dimensional and play different positions. Would it be great? We do have some, like Caroline, we have a few that just pitched. Sarah Kennedy, they just pitched, and that's fine. It's not, we're not going to take them because they just pitch only, but I do think like we're trying to get, I guess you're getting a little bit more out of it. And that's kind of been successful, what we're used to. And I like athletes. So when we go recruit and they'll come up and say, what are you looking for a position? I'm like, I want athletes, I want an athlete that we can kind of do different things with and put them in different positions. And we'll pay outfielders or shortstops. I like to recruit a lot of shortstops, and then I'll make them center fielders or first basemen or, move them around. Obviously you need a pitcher, catcher, and then we're going to have a bunch of athletes out there. I mean, I think trying to get a little bit more natural outfielders. We got a couple coming in that have played there, because I think that's a big benefit to having played there. That I think early in my career, I didn't realize that the skill of outfield is a little harder than it looks. So we're trying to go that track a little bit more with our outfielders now. But for the most part, it's just athletes that really love to play. And I would take loving to play over everything else.
Let's talk about the Big East. One of the storylines is, as you mentioned, your last game of the season was against South Dakota State. Their head coach was Krista Wood. That turns out to be Krista Wood's last day as head coach coaching games at South Dakota State. She's now in your conference as the new head coach at Creighton. I'm telling you, that regional, there'd be a documentary. And I don't know if you've noticed, I've got the shirt from the regional.
Oh, bonus. Oh,
there you go.
I love it.
So what was your reaction when you found out that Krista was coming to Creighton, taking over the Creighton?
Yeah, it was crazy because we actually talked about it. I hadn't met her before. We were on a regional ranking committee together via Zoom. So we met via Zoom. And so I knew her through that, but didn't really know her personally. But obviously at the regional, we got to talking. We had the rain delays. So there's a lot of time to chit chat and talk about things. And we had talked about the Creighton job, and not her taking or not her interviewing. I think just our conference in general, like, how's your conference? And I still haven't really talked. I don't know if she, at that time, she was already interviewed and she was wanting to know about it. But they had played them, so she knew about Creighton as well. But I remember talking to me like, they got a really good program. They hit the ball really well against us. They just gave up too many runs, but I thought we went out and played there last year, I think, for my first time that I was in Creighton. And I was like, oh, it's a great spot. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later or so, I don't even know how long it was, she got the job, but I think it's going to be huge for our conference. I think she knows her stuff. She's got it together, obviously being at South Dakota State and bring the program, what she did with them there. I think it's going to be great for our conference. I mean, it'd be tough. It's going to make our conference a lot tougher because I think she's going to get that program up and running and really get her recruits in there, and her mindset and her methods, I think, are going to help the conference get a lot better. And hopefully, I think our goal, talking to Tracy and to Laura and, Pat and everybody in our conference, we want to be, more than one bid league. That's our hope and that's our goal. Obviously, it gets harder because it's harder to win your conference championship, but if it's harder to win your conference championship, that means you're beating people outside of your region, and you can hopefully get, 2-3 bids in your conference, which I think with, the coaching staffs that we have and the athletes in the Big East, I think it's definitely capable of doing that.
And part of that process, I would imagine, is the changes you got to do in the conference tournament. Explain the changes in the conference tournament and how that you think changes the complexion of that tournament now, expanding that tournament.
I love it. I mean, we've been pushing for it. They said, "Oh, you'll never get it. You never get it." And then all of a sudden we got it. So I don't know. So we got 6 teams in is the change. So 6 teams, which I think helps a ton. One, obviously gives more student athletes opportunity to play in the postseason, which is one of the biggest ones, obviously, to get more teams in. With the weather and the cancellations of the games, it definitely doesn't cause you not, like, when you only have 4, if you have a rain out, the difference between, and it's been in the last couple of years, between like 3, 4, 5, and 6 has been like 1 game or 1 rain out, I should say, here or there. So that used to be the worst. You don't get in because you didn't play a conference series. Now with 6 teams, it's more likely that if you do have a rain out here and there, you don't get a game in due to weather, it's not going to hurt your chances for postseason. I think that's another thing too. We can relax a little bit more. You're not like panicking if you don't get a game in. You can get it in, and
Right.
the standings should still be in there. I mean, obviously, my mentality is I don't care if you're 1 or 6, just as long as you're in there. But also, I think the 1 and 2 get buys, which puts more weight on the regular season, which I always thought was a big deal. I'm like, I think 1 and 2 should have an advantage. Like, when it was just the 4 season, we when I took over here and they didn't really say a whole lot, we got 4 teams in. I'm like, in the first year I was here single elimination, which I thought was absolutely bonkers. But again, you can win the regular season, number 1 seed, and be out in 1 game. And that's what happened my first year here, which was crazy. And it was St. John's had a tremendous season. They had, as softball, the way it goes, anybody can beat anybody in a given day. And here they are, this is a tremendous season. They have 1 bad game and now they're eliminated. And you're like, are you really sending your best team to the tournament if that's the way you're going to run it? So again, they, not because of what I said, but I think they just figured that out, that can't happen. We have to put more weight in the regular season. And so then we went to obviously double elimination, which helped too, but still 1 and 2 didn't have that much of a bye, especially in the Big East. If you looked at it, like the number 1 had to play DePaul, who's one of the best teams in our conference. And then the 2 and the 3 were in there. So it was like, again, you don't pick who you play, but it didn't work out great for that number 1 seed. So now you're looking 1 and 2 will get by. So at least the regular season, it gives you some advantage. Like if you have a great regular season and you win the regular season, you should have some, in my opinion, some type of advantage, puts more weight on it. So now those games matter. 1 and 2 gets buys, but you still have obviously 3, 4, 5, and 6 are in the tournament. They're going to battle out. You're still going to obviously have to play and win the tournament, but you have some type of advantage, which I think is a big deal and puts a little bit weight on the regular season. Because I know having that bye, I love it. I love getting the bye. Like,
well, especially in a double elimination format where another team's got to burn a pitcher or 2 while you get to scout, watch, and rest up.
100%.
I mean, no doubt.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge.
What hosting the conference tournament? Will it be on campus schools? Will it be in a neutral? What about that?
They're still deciding that. They're still working on that. Somebody else, one of the other coaches might have better answer than me. I don't know. So as of now, I mean, we were originally going to host. So it's going back to, it'll be at UConn this year. Right. Yeah. UConn this year. We were supposed to have it in 24 at Villanova. They wanted to do it at school sites. So we were going to kind of rotate it around all the schools that wanted it. Providence was up for it. I think all the schools that wanted it were going to put in for it. And then we did the 6 teams. Now they want to have lights. We don't have lights. So I'll be pushing for no lights because we don't have any. So I'm not sure where that's going to end up and how they're going to do it. But I think if they do the lights, it'll probably end up just going pretty much UConn, DePaul, unless they come to, agreement saying like we and our administration said we could rent lights. So we may rent lights and bring them in if they allow us to do that. Our administration already said we could do that. So we'd love to host it. It's just a matter of the Big East, the coaches vote for it, administrators are on board, if the ADs are on board. You do miss an extra day, and we wouldn't need the lights. The way the schedule's laid out, what it is if you get rain and weather, as we all know.
Get behind scheduling. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is that if you get rain or you get weather, we do have turf now in our outfield. We have new infield, turf outfield, so we can take a little bit more rain. But obviously, I think the best hosting site is UConn. I mean, it pains me to say that, but I vote for them to do it every year. I mean, their facilities.
Oh, it's incredible.
The field, the infield is great. The cages, the indoors, everything, the lights, sound system, like everything they have up there to host a tournament is awesome. They have the hill and the outfield. We were there for COVID. They had filled the hill with people. I just think they do a great job up there. And again, it's tough to go in, obviously play at their place and have them be the home team, but I would rather do that than, play on a field that might not be up to par.
When DePaul hosts, will that be on their campus or is it at Rosemont?
No, it's Rosemont, right? So they host it. I say DePaul, but yeah, they host it, but it's at Rosemont.
That's a great facility there. I mean, with the Chicago.
I just don't like the turf. I'm not a fan of the turf. I'm not a fan of the fences are like 220. There was 1 home run the entire tournament last year. So, great for pitchers. If I'm a pitcher, that's where I want to play.
That's what happened. It was a pro. It's a pro stadium. That's the problem.
So I think so. That's why I was not a fan of the turf infield, not a fan of the big fences. But again. Yeah. Maybe I'll change my tune if we're not hitting home runs anymore. But and it's just a flight. I think just selfishly for us, it's a flight. I like to drive, getting a bus to drive up somewhere. And that's why I think they want to do, which makes it fair. They can do east west. So that way you change it each year. So you bus 1 year, you fly 1 year, bus 1 year, fly 1 year. Same thing. I'm sure they don't like coming out to UConn just because that Butler, Creighton, DePaul, they got to fly every year, and they got to fly a lot during season. So I try not to get on them too much. I feel bad. I think we have 1 conference flight. I think Creighton might fly like 4 times. I don't think they bus anywhere. but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, flying in college athletics today is getting crazier and crazier with all the stuff going on in real life.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I will get on a bus, but yeah, so I think that's one of the tough things I think with the Big East is just the travel
Sure.
schedules and why we went to we do Friday, Saturday, Sundays, we do 1-1-1, and that's a big factor in that too, because if you're going to fly out there, you want to make sure you get the games in. It
Right.
gives you kind of 3 days to play at least 2. We're traveling on Thursdays, you fly out there, and I think it helps teams, like the Creightons and DePauls that are traveling. Obviously, I think academically it's a little bit tougher because they're definitely missing more classes, they're missing more days, but I think for their bodies and just traveling, it's nice to stay a little bit longer than to get in and get out.
All right, well, I want to see you host, so let's make that work. Make it, do what
I'm
we got to
pushing
do.
for it. I know I'm voting for myself, but we got to get everybody else on board.
All right, we'll make something work on that. I'll let you go. Last question: how does it feel now to have be more long now? The pass out Jay Wright. You should no longer be the Villanova head coach. You're the veteran now, one of the veterans on the coaching.
I'd rather have him still here, but no, I'm excited for Coach Neptune taking over for him. So it'll be an interesting, basketball era now. Having to take over for him. I don't know. I'd be excited about it, but that's gonna be a tough act to follow. Obviously, nobody can be Jay Wright, just like nobody can be Paige Rauch. They're all gonna be they're both leaving at the same time.
Wow.
But definitely it's one of those things that he's still around. He's just such a genuine, great guy, like just supports the program, supports all the program, the men's program, the women's program. He'll still be out at games. Like he's still reaching out to everybody. He's still on campus. He's helping in any way that he possibly can. I think he's going to kind of transition into the fundraising front when maybe it'll help us fundraise some money and we can put some lights in, who knows what he's going to be able to do, but I definitely would, bet on him any day.
That's why were you all caught off guard? Because we were all caught off guard when we announced it because you just had another great year, got to a Final Four. What and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I was definitely, I think everybody was. I didn't have everybody was surprised. But then looking back now or looking back after, you're like, oh, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. He did what he can do, and the team is in great shape. But I think he really wanted to leave it in great shape and kind of enjoy while he can. And he did the Olympic year. He did a lot of stuff. So I think he in COVID years, and now you got NLI, you got transfer portal. And he didn't say any of this stuff, but in my opinion, I'm thinking he's like, I'm done with this. What I mean? Like, I'm gonna enjoy it, sit back. Who knows? Maybe he'll eventually get back into coaching or whatnot because he's so great at it. But I definitely think, looking back, I'm like, I can see that now. He, like you said, he did what he could do, and he won a lot of games, won a lot of championships. Coach of the year, did everything he could possibly do. So it's like, hey, let's go enjoy it while you can. Travel around. I know he's with his wife and his family. He gets to spend a lot of time with them, and I think he's living his best life.
No, I think you're right. You got to get him out to the softball games. Got to get him out there.
Well, we now that he has time, I'm like, hey, you have time now. So you know what? We'll get him out there. He threw out first pitch a couple times, but maybe now we'll get him to do 2 or 3 of the games.
Speak to the team a little here and there. Yeah, help. Don't know. But you mentioned that there is so much responsibilities now. There's so many things college coaches have to deal with in all sports. You've mentioned some of them already there. How do you balance all that out? Because you've got family as well, your mom. I mean, but you seem, I can tell in your voice, you still have the passion for it. But how do you do it? How do you balance all that out?
I think you just kind of love for it, the passion for it. It's just like as the players, like I feel like if I ever lost the love or the passion for it, I wouldn't do it. But yeah, I have 3 kids. So I have a senior in high school, which is crazy. So I have a senior, a junior, and a 12-year-old, so she's in 7th grade. She has a volleyball game this afternoon. So the great thing about coaching, I get to go to everything, and she travels with me to everything. She helps me. She goes recruiting. She takes all these trips. The boys are in and out. They're playing basketball, so they're all over the place. But I think that it's something that I actually love. I can't imagine not coaching or what I would do if I wasn't coaching. I love it so much. And like I said, the changes every season's new. I think this season I'm probably the most nervous and the most excited, if you can be both at the same time. But I'm nervous. I don't think I would tell the girls that as much, but I think they could probably know. I'm also super excited because we don't know, we don't know kind of what we're going to expect when we get on that field in the spring and what's going to come. And I know it's going to be up and down because it always is, but we'll have some really highs and I'm sure we'll have some really lows. It's just a matter of managing that. And just seeing the girls grow, it's going to be really cool to watch these freshmen go from freshmen, to seniors in these 4 years. And as you know, it flies by, and pretty soon they're freshmen now. And 2 years from now, we'll be having the same Zoom saying how great they're doing. So I'm excited for that.
I feel every coach is nervous. I just don't want to admit it for whatever the reason. Like, look, breaking news. You're all human beings. It's okay. Like, we understand.
Yeah.
So, last question, what's going to be the keys for this team? Obviously, as you get to, closer to the season and come together and work out on some of the things you have addressed, What's going to be the keys though to have that success and accomplish your internal goals?
I think the ability to bounce back. Like, I think, I'm not a pessimist, but I feel like we're going to take some hits. We're really going to take some hits. And I think it's ability to bounce back. We saw some of that this fall, which really impressed our team, just taking hits, having big, can't get out of an inning and then come right back and scoring a bunch of runs, and just being able to understand that resiliency. And like you just said, having patience with each other, me as a coach with them, with each other as teammates, with the program, with the university, kind of what we're doing, what our goals are, and being able to kind of go with the flow when we're there and kind of picking up the pieces here. And then again, I'm still a believer in not getting too high, not getting too low. So, we want to act like we've been there and done that before, even though we haven't been, but we're going to stress that. And we're going to hopefully act like we've been there before, with our freshmen. But at the same time, when things aren't going well, we're going to have to really, really stick together. And I think that's where we did a lot of team building stuff. And I used to not do a ton of that stuff because I'm like, hey, they don't have a lot of time to do on their own. Well, this year, it's like you need to get to know each other, on and off the field. You got to know what makes each one tick. And we had 23 individual meetings, and I'm still trying to get to know them myself. And I'm like, you guys, upperclassmen, freshmen with freshmen, get to know each other. Get to know what makes them tick. When they get down, and we had our individuals. Like, we don't know if you're happy or sad or what. We need to read you somehow. And do you want to be yelled at? Do you want to be coddled? Do you need to pat in the back? Like, what do you need to perform your best? And we're going to find that out this spring. So it's a matter of, I think the communication is going to be big between coaches and players, and just kind of figuring out how we can get the best out of everybody.
Well, we look forward to seeing your team on the field soon enough. But in the meantime, I appreciate you taking the time from the busy schedule with family and coaching there, as you always do. You've been always kind to us on the show, and I'll understand if you'll just turn down my request on Selection Sunday if you win another conference tournament. I invite you to come on the show.
I hope we do. I hope to be having that conversation more than anything.
You're hoping to have that option to turn it down. I understand.
Yes, absolutely.
But hey, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for your insights. You're always one of our favorites, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Always great to be on.